What's going on, everyone? So there's a lot of questions going around with Dorian Finney-Smith, right? And is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? If he opts in, he'd make more than he would if a team offered him the full mid-level exception. However, it may be a concern with the long-term money, right? He wants a long-term deal. He wants, try to get as much money long-term as possible, be able to play as long-term as possible. So if the Lakers and him kind of have this, they can't find this middle ground, then it is possible that he could look to leave, opt out, and look for a new place, which then the Lakers might need to look to trade him, right? Because you don't want to lose him for nothing. So it's like, hey, where's a place you want to go to where they can give you that contract, and then maybe you can, work something out, especially if the Lakers aren't willing to give him a long-term deal. Also, if Dorian Finney-Smith leaves, right, if he does opt out and just leaves and is like, nah, I don't want to be traded anywhere, I'll just figure it out type thing, well, then the Lakers would have their full mid-level exception, right? They'd go from taxpayer mid-level to full mid-level. But my problem is like Dorian Finney-Smith is probably better than any full mid-level exception guy that we could get. Now, maybe you could break down the full mid-level into multiple players, sure. But then, again, you're hard kept at the first apron. So, things could get a little mucky, right? Where if ideally you want to keep Dorian Finney-Smith and then go and get, somebody on your taxpayer mid-level exception. But Evan Sidery reported something that I think is very interesting. So, according to Evan Sidery, the Rockets could look to package Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale in a trade to return a strong rotational upgrade. Combined to make $11.5 million, a Whitmore Landale package can bring back a player in the 15+ million range. Dorian Finney-Smith is a potential target to monitor. I'm not going to lie, I might do this if I'm the Lakers, right? So, not only if you're the Lakers would you clear like $4 million off your books, which could help you maybe, get closer to the full mid-level exception, right? You'd also get Cam Whitmore, who is he's not Dorian Finney-Smith right now, right? Dorian Finney-Smith is an excellent player, right? And I know people will look at it and go, Cam Whitmore, this, that. And look, I'm as high on Cam Whitmore as you can. I literally made a video the other day that the Lakers must go trade for Cam Whitmore. I want Cam Whitmore. I think he has genuine star potential. I think he's the exact type of player that the Lakers desperately need. They need a young, athletic, two-way wing. He solves that. He's a guy that could slot in literally 2 through 4 for you, if you're running like a small ball unit. Lakers need to go get Cam Whitmore. And again, I would do this trade personally. But Dorian Finney-Smith, the veteran in him, the impact, the way he affects the game beyond the box score. People look at the box score and go like, forget the points, forget everything. There's a reason he's our best plus minus every game, right? It's because of the way he impacts the game, his versatility on the defensive side, all of that. Cam Whitmore is just raw talent. He's incredible, and I think stat line wise, Cam Whitmore has the potential to have better stats than what Dorian Finney-Smith had like last year for the Lakers. But that doesn't mean he'll necessarily have the overall impact that Dorian Finney-Smith had to the Lakers. But you do this because you get a young, athletic, you get basically a younger Dorian Finney-Smith that has the upside and star potential that's 20 years old. Jock Landale is just salary filler. So Jock Landale, yes, he is a center, so technically you could keep him if you're the Lakers. I wouldn't. I would just waive him because Jock Landale, he is due, if you look up his contract, he is due $8 million this year, $8 million next year. However, only $16 million was guaranteed, right? So this $8 million and next year's $8 million are all full non-guarantees. However, they will go fully guarantee on July 29th, right? So they have time to kind of figure this out. But here's the thing. So Lakers could make this move, get Cam Whitmore. You clear, like I said, $4 million off your books, right? Then you waive Jock Landale, or you could look to package him, right? If you can maybe go flip him into another trade, because he could be salary filler for a team to get off of something, right? So, Andrew Wiggins or something like that. Maybe. So first I would do, because you'd have essentially a month to make that decision on Jock Landale. So what I would do if I'm the Lakers is I would go do the trade to get Cam Whitmore, Jock Landale. I would then look to see if I can take Jock Landale and trade him into something. If not, you can waive Landale, right? And now you cleared, if I'm not mistaken, enough to free up your full mid-level exception. So now it's not mid-level exception or Dorian Finney-Smith. It's now mid-level exception plus Cam Whitmore. That to me is much more enticing. That is something that I would look to do. Because, so to me, worst case scenario, you free up your full mid-level exception. Because also you got to keep in mind, Lakers could also waive Shake Milton if they needed to. So doing this trade could free up the full mid-level exception for the Lakers, as well as bring back a younger athletic wing. Okay, so keep that in mind. I would probably do this, right? But again, if I can turn Jock Landale into something, right? Because I'd prefer, because you get a higher end player if you can pull off a trade, and that's $8 million that a team could get off of today. Right? So, I mean, Shake Milton and Jock Landale combined would be, 11, I think it's a little over 11 million, but let's call it 11 million, right? So that's 11 million a team could get off of immediately, right? They could just, boom, waive both on a non-guarantee and you're off the money. That, I think, could be valuable to some of these teams, right? So maybe you could do some, now you could take a Shake Milton, a Jock Landale, and like a Dalton Connect. And that gets you, like I said, another 15, 16 million. Can you maybe go get a higher end player, right? Where they're like, we get a young guy. I don't know, Herb Jones, just a name for example, right? Can you maybe take those three guys, go to a team like the Pelicans and be like, hey, we'll give you this and a young guy to add to your young core that, and Herb Jones probably going to be your 6th or 7th man anyway. So we'll take him. You get a young guy in Dalton Connect and you get off of the salary, right? So you clear 11 million off your books immediately, and you get a young guy in Dalton Connect that can help. And now the Lakers get a Herb Jones, right? Just again, an example. Now you're looking at something like I said with a Luka, Austin Reeves, Herb Jones, LeBron James, and a hopefully center position, but a Clint Capella, whatever, right? Whatever you do to solve the center position, and then you have a Cam Whitmore off the bench that can slot in 2 through 4 for you, depending on how you want to go. Gives you a young, athletic, versatile wing, like I mentioned, right? Like, he's the exact type of player the Lakers need, and he has the star potential and upside. He's the guy the Lakers should have taken in the draft, right? But, again, go over Cam Whitmore, right? He's 20 years old. He'll be 21 in, like, a couple weeks. So he'll be 21 going into next season, right? Last season, he averaged 9.4 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. But again, this is a guy that is getting spot minutes and not consistently in the rotation, but he is a legit two-way player. Last year, he played 51 games, started in only 3 games, averaged 16.2 minutes per game, right? Which is down from the previous year, which was 18.7 minutes. His field goal attempts were down from last year. Like, literally everything was down from last year. Because, again, he got his production guy. Because Houston has like 15 guys that play his position. There's just no space for him. Because you have veteran guys. And now you went and got a Kevin Durant that puts you in that position. So if you're the Lakers, right, and you got to keep in mind, what you gave up for Dorian Finney-Smith, right? And then I'll get back to the stats here in a moment. But what you gave up for Dorian Finney-Smith, right, was, what was it? It was 3 seconds, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was 3 seconds, right, for Dorian Finney-Smith. Cam Whitmore was a first-round pick. Cam Whitmore, let's say, is the value of a first. On top of that, right, you have the upside and potential, gives you a young, youthful piece. But if you can now flip Jock Landale into another trade, right, then the return could actually be more than worth a lot more than what you gave up, right? You might be able to kind of, like, this led to this, like, how like the Anthony Davis trade led to that, a championship, and then the Anthony Davis trade, I mean, that's kind of more of an extreme thing, but Anthony Davis eventually led to Luka, right? This could be that thing where we trade for Dorian Finney-Smith, we got a good deal on Dorian Finney-Smith, we got him for value, but Houston wants a clear upgrade and wants to get off of some guys and condense the roster, so you just kind of are in an advantage opportunity, get that done, bring in a young guy in Cam Whitmore that was a first-round pick, and then now either free up your full mid-level exception to bring in another guy or two, and then also go get or go pull off a trade, right? Either way, it's a win-win. But you look at last year, 3-point range, he is a career 36% three-point shooter on 4 attempts, right? So he's not a bad three-point shooter already, and he's only going to get better. 2-point range, 52.9% for his career, right, on 5 attempts. So again, guy that can finish, a guy that can hit shots, 52.5% EFG, 71% free throw shooter for his career. Rebounding's 3.4 rebounds, an assist, a steal, half a block, and just under 11 points per game, again, for his career stats. I would honestly do this. I think that's a great trade for the Lakers. You get a younger, upside, athletic. I know it's not the. I know Dorian Finney-Smith. There is some risk with Luka, but look, if Lakers are good and they're able to maneuver, like Luka's not going to leave. I still don't think Luka leaves. Right? He's not going to make his decision because Dorian Finney-Smith is on the roster or not. He's going to make his decision if the Lakers are good or not. And this is a position that I think might make the Lakers better because again, it's not Doe and your taxpayer mid-level, right? Or your full mid-level. It's now Cam Whitmore plus maybe a potential other trade or your full mid-level, right? So you're replacing Doe. That's the difference. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So if you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.